The writings offer advice on how to live in a way that qualifies for the remnant, so this is really, really important. The Psalms speak of godly ones. Ecclesiastes is reflective wisdom and seeks to understand the purpose of life, which is to fear God, that's his judgment, and keep his commandments. Proverbs is practical wisdom, which encourages the godly ones to be upright in their walk with God. Job is reflective wisdom, whose message is to stand faithful to the end regardless of trials and tribulation. So we see the three-part separation of the books of the Hebrew Scriptures according to at the time of Yeshua and of Jews still today. So let's start with the Psalms. We have, "O love the Lord, all you godly ones." Now the godly ones are the ones who are righteous in God's eyes. The Lord preserves the faithful and fully recompenses the doer. And then another psalm, "Gather my godly ones to me, those who have made a covenant with me by sacrifice." The covenant is an agreement with God. Now, Ecclesiastes talks about the total insignificance of everything the world offers. "Vanity of vanities," says the preacher, "vanity of vanities, all is vanity." Well, the conclusion of Ecclesiastes is fear God, now that's fear his judgment, and keep his commandments. We fear his judgment so that we will keep his commandments, because this applies to every person. For God will bring every act to judgment, everything which is hidden, whether it is good or evil, we are going to be judged. So we need to live our lives today in preparation for that future judgment. Okay, let's go to the practical wisdom of Proverbs. "For the Lord gives wisdom, from his mouth knowledge and understanding. He stores up for the upright." The upright are the ones who are walking a straight path in the ways of God. The book of Job asks these questions. Why does God allow suffering? How does Job overcome his suffering? What is God's ultimate blessing to Job? And why does God allow his people to suffer? There was a man whose name was Eov, that's the Hebrew Eov, and he was blameless, upright, fearing God and turning away evil. It looks like he's doing everything right, but he's not. So you may think you're blameless, upright, fearing God and turning away from evil, but you still have things to repent. Now look here about the 7 sons, 3 daughters, and look at what else he had. 7,000 sheep, 3,000 camels, 500 yoke of oxen, 500 female donkeys, and many servants. So this is the beginning. But of course he goes through all kinds of tribulations. His children die. He loses all his animals. His body breaks out in boils. He's miserable until we get to the end. Now let me take you to the end. Job answered the Lord and said, "I know that you do all things." That's the humility. Totally submitting to God. Totally. "And that no purpose of yours can be thwarted. I have heard of you by the hearing of the ear, but now my eye sees you. Therefore I retract and I repent in dust and ashes." Now what God gives him then is double what he had before. That indicates the double portion of inheritance. At this point, Job is worthy to inherit the birthright and participate in the remnant. With that, I wish you shalom.